What's up, everyone? My name's Justin. I'm with the Real Keeper Home Team, and you're on our channel, Everything Jax Real Estate. In this video, we're going to be doing our market update report for March of 2024 for Mandarin. Now, Mandarin's a very popular area, and we always see a lot of different changes go on in Mandarin, including amount of homes in the market, going under contract, and selling. So we're going to go over all of that, as well as what we're seeing with days on market and price trends, and also much, much more. So when I come back, we're gonna go over all of that. And welcome back. So before we get started on the Mandarin market update report for March, I'd like for you to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you get notified when we post more content like this in the future. Also, don't forget, if you have any questions when I'm going over this content in this video, drop a comment in the comment section below. Leave that question and I will make sure to respond to any questions you guys may have about anything we go over in this video. Or if there's anything I didn't touch on, feel free to drop a question on that as well, and I'll make sure to answer that as well. This video is going to focus on the Mandarin area for March. Now, a lot of what you're going to see here in this video is going to be very similar to what we saw in February in Mandarin. And what I mean by that is we actually didn't see a ton of changes across the board, but there were some changes that we are going to go over in this video. So first things first, in March, we had 318 homes that went under contract from ones that were listed in March. That left us with 1,013 homes left still for sale as we exited March, total of 1,331 total homes in the area in March that hit the market. And that gave us a pendulous ratio of 23.9%. And to put that in perspective, as I mentioned, in February, we were right at 24%. So it's about pretty much the same as it was last month. And ultimately, what we did see though is we saw that pendings, homes going under contract, and listings, homes in the market, both increased in March, which is very typical due to seasonality trends as we have to get into that time of the year when school starts to let out, weather starts to warm up some, and buyers and sellers start to come back to the market a little more prevalently than they may have been in the fall or winter time, especially this year. Now, when we take a closer look, you will see that the majority of homes going under contract were in the $400,000 to $500,000 price range. We also saw that the majority of homes in the market were in that $400,000 to $500,000 price range. Not to say that that price range had a ton more, but that made it the most homes in any individual price range in Mandarin for homes in the market. We did also see that the median list price for all homes in the market was $579,000, which is pretty much a little bit higher than what we saw in February. Next, we're going to look at the graph below, and in this graph, what you're going to see is that homes between $300,000 and $800,000 have quite a big a difference in homes available compared to homes under contract, which really just means that if you're looking to buy in those price ranges in Mandarin, you should have plenty of options to choose from. However, it also means that a lot of those options may not be the kind of options that you're looking to find. So what it also means is that if a good one hits the market, that is one that you could look at and you could say, I would buy that thing yesterday. You have to also assume that you're not alone in that thinking, because those are still going very quick, as we'll take a look at. We did see too, there was 1,284 contracts that closed in the last 6 months. That's just a slight uptick from last month. And ultimately, as we go into the future months of April, May, June, July, we actually will start to probably see that number increase further. Because again, as we're seeing, pendings are going up. What do pendings lead to? Sales, eventually. And so ultimately, with seasonality trends for the summer, those numbers should go up. But we did also see the median sold price was $516,800. That is pretty much just barely above what we were at last month. So in a 6-month window, we're not seeing a huge difference in prices. And part of that is because the month that we left, 6 months ago, that came off, and the month that we just had, March, offset. So that's a lot of the reason why we're seeing that number not really change at all. But we're going to start going into months, April, May, June, July, where the numbers won't offset. You're going to have months like September, October, November that were a little bit slower, versus months that are going to be a little bit busier, April, May, June. So we're actually going to see those numbers really come up in future months. So we should see more homes selling, and we should see that median sales price go up quite a bit. We also saw that there was 330 homes that failed to sell. So failed to sell is actually always very important. You want to know, okay, am I buying a house in an area where a lot of homes are failing to sell? In this case, the failed to sell amount of homes dropped from last month, and we'll probably keep seeing that drop as we get into more of the summertime. And homes can always fail to sell for different reasons, not always indicative of the seller themselves or the house themselves. So definitely we go over all the time, but ultimately a couple of them are highlighted here in this video. We'll go over it in this specific video, but things can fail to sell for many different reasons. Next up, we're going to look at days on market for Mandarin. And what we saw is that the median days on market for homes that are on the market, not under contract, was 46 days on the market. 46 days on the market is about what we saw last month, maybe a slight uptick. And we have seen that across the board here in Jacksonville, so it's not specific to Mandarin. The reason for that is a lot of the homes currently in the market are just homes that may be overpriced or may just not have a great condition, or again, maybe like with Mandarin, maybe it's a home that faces, backyard faces, 295. So it has a lot of traffic. Some people may like that. Some people may think it sounds like the ocean, but others, they may feel like that's just too much sound for when they want to enjoy being in their backyard. So things like that can occur, and that's what can lead to higher days on market. But what does that mean for homes that are selling? Well, homes that are selling the last 6 months are only taking 25 days. So they're taking almost half of the time compared to homes that are still in the market. Big reason for that, they're either priced right, they either have great condition, or both. And ultimately, the important reason I want to bring that up is if you're looking to sell your house and you live in Mandarin, it's important to work with the right real estate professional that can help determine what that price is and what that condition needs to look like, so that way you don't fall into that longer selling pattern of, in this case, 46 days. And keep in mind, that's the median. We're gonna have a lot of those homes are much above that. Now, as we go into future months, it will be important to see how that changes. With us going into these spring and summer months, that number should come down. But that was something that we look at in future videos, because as we saw in March, it stayed pretty stagnant from February. Also, for the last 30 days, like I mentioned, the days on market was 25 days, but the median price point for the homes that did sell was $525,000. So that actually is about a 10,000, just under 10,000 bump from previous months when we look at a 6-month window. So ultimately, 1-month window, we're seeing prices go up. 6-month window, we're seeing prices stay kind of stagnant. So what do you think is going to happen when we get to future months? And what I can tell you what I think is going to happen is we're going to see both the 6-month window go up and the 1-month window go up, despite these higher rates. Because what we're seeing is sellers are wanting their price, but they are giving other concessions to buyers to make up for it and to help buyers out with their rate and their closing costs. That way, everybody wins. Ultimately, it's important also to note that with the ever-changing market conditions, these things can always change as well. We could see prices come down depending on what happens in the future. But for the most part, for Mandarin being the way it is, ultimately, we should only see prices increase, days on market decrease, and honestly, inventory maybe will decrease some as we see more demand on the market. If in the later parts of this year we start to see rates come down, we most definitely should see inventory decrease, because more buyers will hit the market. And you may ask yourself, well, yeah, more sellers may too. But guess what? Most sellers are also buyers most of the time, unless they're moving out of the area. Now, next thing we're going to look at is the median listed sales price. And in this scenario, the median listed sales price for Mandarin was 98.4%, which is really right where we were at last month. And it just means that a seller is getting roughly 98.4% of what they're wanting from a buyer. What it also tells us is that buyers are getting some concessions from sellers, whether it's a price decrease or if it's closing cost concessions or both. So it just does show us that sellers are being more cognizant that we're no longer in that COVID market. If anything, we're more in that pre-COVID market from an inventory standpoint, which just means that you have to be more willing to work with a buyer to get your home sold. And a great highlight of that is in the last 6 months, the absorption rate for the area, the months of inventory is actually 4.7 months of inventory. Personally, I have not seen those numbers in at least 4 to 5 years. Ultimately, what that does tell us is that there is many sellers who are looking to sell their home despite these higher rates. And ultimately, what it means for you as a buyer is that you have options. That's a big piece. For many years during COVID, there was no options. It was, you find one, you put an offer in, you compete with 5, 10 other buyers, and you hope that you're the one that the seller chooses. Well, guess what? Now, sellers want you. They need you for most homes. Again, the top 10% don't always fall into that category. But if you are looking to buy right now, it's important to have the right real estate professional working with you to help make sure you structure your offer properly to get as much as you can from a seller. And if you're a seller, it's important to have the real estate professional to walk you through what to do with your home so that way you don't necessarily have to give up too much to a buyer. The absorption rate, by the way, at 4.7 months, that's getting us back over to more of an equilibrium market, which is 6 months of inventory, where it's not a buyer's market, not a seller's market. So at 4.7 months, something that we'll want to key into as we go into future months. Could go down, could go up. My assumption is it'll go down, but to be at 4.7 months is great for you as a buyer right now. For a seller, doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but definitely probably isn't as comfortable as you may have been a couple years ago. Lastly, we're going to look at the table down here, and this table is just going to highlight different price points, how much inventory there really is. Now, keep in mind, when you see reds and oranges, those are more desirable for sellers because it means that there's less inventory of homes and probably more buyers looking for homes in those price points. But when you see yellows and greens and teals or turquoises, those typically mean that there is more inventory, so buyers will have more options. And what you'll see with this graph is that at most price points under $700,000, it's really still a seller's market. You really don't start seeing it transition to more of a buyer's market until you go over $700,000 in Mandarin. So there's something to key into if you're looking to buy or sell in the area. It's important to know what your competition looks like, or in some cases, your lack of competition, so that way you can either price your home properly or negotiate properly to get your next house or first house. So like I said, if you have any questions, in the description of this video is a link to my calendar. Also has my contact information. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions that I can help answer. That's always what I'm here for. I'm born and raised here in Northeast Florida in Jacksonville. I have family in Mandarin. It's an area that I've done a lot in, and ultimately I always want to just help you and your family however I can, whether if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in the Mandarin area. Also, as always, if you like this video, just shoot us a like on it, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you get notified when we post more content like this in the future. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next market update video.